This is Marilyn from Just Making Noise. Today I'm going to show you how to make your own dough for making cereal or cookie or whatever you like to use to oat with. So I had one of my readers request that I show you step by step how I'm making so that you all can see how it's done. So here I have the oats over here which I had soaked for 24 hours. Now I'm going to bring them over here. I let them drain so that way they will dry a lot easier. Here I'm going to set it over on this bowl. Okay. Now, this is my dehydrator. And when I make my soap and ready oats, I use my dehydrator, but I'm also going to do one in a pan in the oven for those who don't have a dehydrator so you can see how it's done also. So here, I highly recommend brown unbleached parchment paper, but I do not have that here because I'm in Costa Rica. So I use wax paper, but I do recommend the parchment paper. And here you will see that I fold it in half and I cut so I make a hole so that the air can circulate through. So that's what I'm going to be doing with all my wax paper. Make it a big enough hole. But for those who have the other types of dehydrators, it's not necessary if you don't have the thunder. Okay, now I've finished cutting the wax paper. So now I've got the hole of the thunder for my dehydrator. But remember, if you have a different dehydrator that is not necessary, don't do it. Now the next step is to put coconut oil or olive oil, any kind of oil you like. You put it and rub it onto the parchment paper so that it's thick left onto the oven. Okay? So here I've got a little bit here and basically brush it around. I'm going to rub it on nice and good. You don't have to worry about melting your oil beforehand because our body heat will naturally melt the oil onto the wax paper. Okay, now I've got that done. Okay, now after you see, I let the oat drain so that all the extra liquid will drain through. I find that it's much more effective in drying the oat and making it less thick onto the wax paper. So I let it drain for maybe about 5 to 10 minutes. Just let it drain until it stops dripping. So here now I'm going to start scooping it onto the wax paper and spread it out. Kind of want to break up the clumps a little bit. And you don't want it to pile on top of each other too thickly. You want it spread out nicely so that it will all dry evenly.
How much water did you add to the oats when you soaked them?
Now for those who might be wondering, the instruction for how much water and whey or vinegar or whatever you like to use for soaking your oats is on my website, so you can look that up. But what I did is I used 7 cups of oats. So I added 7 cups of water, warm water, and then I added up to 10 tablespoons of whey. Okay, now this is what you want it to look like. Okay, here we got the first one down, and now I'm going to do it to the rest. Okay, so we'll be back. Now I'm finishing up on the oat on my dehydrator. Okay, and now next I'm going to demonstrate it on on the stainless steel pan for those who don't have a dehydrator. So here I'm going to put this on and I'm going to turn it on. And I let it dehydrate for roughly anywhere from 12 to 24 hours. It all depends on the dryness, what the moisture in your house, if you live in a humid environment or a drier environment. Right now it's dry, so that helps a lot with dehydrating the oats. Alright, now I'm going to do the oven. I have set the oven at the lowest temperature. So right now my oven is at about 225. So I'm going to try to turn it down a little bit more. So that's about the lowest it'll go. So you want to turn your oven to the lowest temperature, plus put the rack up on high. Okay, the higher you get your rack up, the better, because my heat is down here, but I want it to be up here so I don't burn my Alright, so here I'm going to do the same thing that I do with my other wax paper. I'm going to rub some coconut oil on it. Alright. Remember to break up the clump and spread it out as evenly as possible. Now, with the oven, it's a little bit more trickier because there's not much air circulation in there. So, oftentimes people, to bring their oven temperature down to at least 150 to 200, they will crack open the oven door to let out some of the heat. But I know some of you don't like that idea because it's kind of wasteful in terms of energy and stuff. So that's why I recommend bringing the rack up high. And then check on it. Check on it pretty much every 10 minutes in my thing. So I set the timer for 10 minutes. And so that I could move it third around and make sure that it's cooking evenly. And to let out some of the heat. Alright, so here I've got the oats all spread out on the wax paper. And now I'm going to transfer it into the oven. And I'm going to set my timer for 10 minutes. Let me check on it. Alright. There you go. Okay, so it might take approximately, because of the higher temperature, it might take approximately about 12 hours. It should take one day. So, but you want to check it frequently so that it doesn't burn, and you move the pan around because I know heat baths are different in the oven. So that is how it's done. I have this on. It will be done by tomorrow. And then here you will see my finished product of the soaking oats ready oats. I keep it in a glass jar, and this is what it will look like. After I have taken it out of this, I will put it in my food processor, chop it up so that it's nice and fine, almost like oatmeal. Great cereal. Tastes fantastic with kefir or raw milk. And then I top it with coconut sugar or honey, nuts, and fresh fruit. Or I do make cookies, which you will find on my blog. I have cookies that I made with the thing with great results. And so next, I want to try to make granola with it like any normal granola. So I'll keep you posted on that. So, but yeah, that's how it's done.